Father, before I say anything else, I just want to be still with you for a moment. Wherever you are right now, whatever room, whatever car, whatever quiet corner you've found to press play on this prayer, let this become a doorway, not into more noise, but into stillness. Not into more pressure to feel a certain way, but into a presence that has been waiting for you long before you pressed play. Take a breath, a real one. Let your shoulders drop just slightly from wherever they've been holding on. Because maybe you came into this moment carrying something heavy. Maybe it's not one thing. Maybe it's several things all at once, stacked on top of each other until you can barely remember what it felt like to not be carrying them. Maybe it's a diagnosis or the fear of one. Maybe it's a marriage that used to feel solid and now feels like sand. Maybe it's a job that ended, or a dream that quietly died somewhere along the way without anyone noticing but you. Maybe it's your children, and the ache of watching them struggle when you cannot fix it. Maybe it's your own mind, spinning at 3 in the morning with thoughts you can't turn off. Maybe it's simply this, that life, which used to feel like it had some kind of order to it, now feels like it's coming undone at the seams, and you don't know how to hold it together anymore. God, you already know. You knew before I said a word, and so this prayer isn't going to try to explain to you what's happening in this heart. You've seen every piece of it already. Instead, let this be the place where it's finally set down. Lord, when everything feels like it's falling apart, teach me what it means to fall into you instead. Because there is a difference, isn't there, between falling apart and falling into someone's arms. One is chaos with nowhere to land. The other is surrender to something that will actually hold. And that's what I'm asking for in this moment. Not for the pieces to magically reassemble themselves the way I think they should. Not for a quick fix or an easy answer. But for you, for your presence to become the ground beneath a life that feels like it's shifting. You are the God who was there before the foundations of the earth were laid. And you have never once been caught off guard by anything that has happened in my life. Not the diagnosis, not the phone call that changed everything, not the relationship that ended in a way I never saw coming. Not the year that took more from me than I thought I had to give. You were there, you are here, and you will be there in whatever comes next. So today, I don't come to you with a tidy prayer, I come with the mess. I come with the parts of my life that don't make sense right now, the pieces that feel scattered, the plans that fell through, the hopes that got buried somewhere under disappointment. I lay all of it in front of you, not because you need to see it to understand it, but because I need to be honest about it in order to be free of carrying it alone. For the person listening to this who feels like their whole world just shifted beneath their feet, Lord, meet them here. For the one whose marriage is unraveling in ways they never expected, whose trust has been broken, whose sense of safety has been shaken, Father, wrap your arms around that ache. For the one who just lost a job, or a home, or a sense of who they even are without the role they used to play, God, remind them that their worth was never tied to any of that in the first place. For the one sitting with a diagnosis that changed the shape of every future plan, Lord, be near. Be so near that fear cannot find room to settle in. For the parent lying awake tonight, worried about a child who is hurting in ways they cannot reach, Father, you see that child too. You love them even more fiercely than the parent does, and that parent's love is fierce indeed. For the person grieving someone they loved, wondering how life is supposed to continue when a part of their world is simply gone, Lord, hold that grief gently. Don't rush it. Don't minimize it. Just hold it. For the one who feels like they are drowning in financial pressure, doing the math over and over and still coming up short, lying awake calculating and recalculating, God, you know the weight of that particular fear. You know what it does to a person's sleep, their peace, their sense of control. Meet them in the numbers that don't add up. And for the person who cannot even name exactly what's wrong, who just feels a heaviness they can't explain, a sense that something in their life has cracked, even if they can't point to the exact moment it happened, you know. You know what they cannot yet put into words. Let this prayer become the words they didn't have. Because here is what I believe, God, even in the middle of not understanding everything. You are not surprised by any of this. Psalm 34 tells me that you are close to the brokenhearted, that you save those who are crushed in spirit, not far from them, not disappointed in them for being crushed. Close. That word matters to me right now. Close. So be close, Lord. Be closer than my next breath. Be closer than the anxious thought that keeps circling back. Be closer than the ache in my chest when I think about everything that feels uncertain right now. I want to bring you something now, Father. I want to bring you surrender. Real surrender, not the kind where I say the word and then quietly pick everything back up 5 minutes later, but the kind where I actually open my hands. I surrender the timeline I had in my head for how my life was supposed to go by now. I surrender the plans that fell apart, the versions of the future I had already pictured, already almost lived in, before they crumbled. I surrender my need to understand why certain things happened the way they did. I surrender my grip on the people I love, the ones I keep trying to control, protect, fix, or save through sheer force of worry, as if my anxiety could somehow keep them safe. It cannot. Only you can. So I place them in your hands, the same hands that hold galaxies and somehow also number the hairs on my head. I surrender my finances, Lord, the fear around money, the shame that sometimes creeps in when I can't provide the way I want to, the exhausting mental math of trying to make things stretch further than they seem able to go. I bring that to you, because your word tells me that you know what I need before I even ask, and that you care for the sparrows, and that I am worth so much more than they are. I surrender my body, the parts of it that don't work the way they used to, the diagnosis I didn't ask for, the fatigue that doesn't seem to lift no matter how much rest I get. I surrender my mind, the anxious thoughts, the spirals, the fear that sometimes convinces me that the worst outcome is the most likely one. I surrender my relationships, the ones that are strained, the ones that broke, the ones I'm still grieving even though the person is still alive, just no longer close to me. Surrender is not giving up, God. I know that. Surrender is trust wearing its bravest clothes. It's saying, I don't know how to fix this, but I know you do, or I know you'll walk with me even when it doesn't get fixed the way I want it to. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing I know how to do right now. Even here, even now, even with everything unsettled, I want to thank you. Thank you for this breath, for the ability to breathe in and out without having to think about it, a gift I so often overlook. Thank you for this day, for the sunlight or the rain or whatever the sky is doing right now, because it means I am still here to see it. Thank you for the fact that even in the middle of everything falling apart, my heart is still beating, my lungs are still working, and that is not an accident, that is your mercy, new every single morning, just like your word promises. Thank you for the people who have shown up for me even when I couldn't ask for help out loud. Thank you for the ones who checked in, who sat with me in silence, who didn't try to fix what couldn't be fixed but just stayed. Thank you for the meals someone made, the text message that arrived at exactly the right moment, the small kindnesses that felt like little proofs that I wasn't as alone as I feared. Thank you for the doors that closed. I don't always say that with a full heart, because closed doors hurt, God, they really do. But I trust that you see further down the road than I do, and if a door closed, it's because you have somewhere else for me, even if I can't see it yet. Thank you for the doors that opened too, the unexpected ones, the ones I didn't even know to pray for. Thank you for your patience with me, because I have not always trusted you well. I have doubted, I have questioned, I have, in some of my darkest moments, wondered if you were even listening, and still you did not walk away. Still you stayed close, The way a good father stays close to a child throwing a tantrum, not because the tantrum is acceptable, but because the love is unconditional. Thank you, God, for salvation, for grace that I did not earn and could never earn, for the fact that my standing before you does not depend on how well I'm holding my life together right now, but on what Jesus already did. That truth alone should undo the pressure I put on myself to have everything figured out. And now, Lord, I want to ask you to come into the broken places, not to observe them from a distance, but to actually step into them the way you've always done, the way you stepped into the world yourself, into flesh, into suffering, into a life that knew rejection and grief and exhaustion firsthand. You are not a God who prays safe distance. You are a God who came close. Heal what is broken in me, Father. I don't always know how to name every wound, but you do. Heal the disappointment that has settled into my bones from praying for something for so long without seeing the answer I hoped for. Heal the shame that whispers I should have handled things better, that if I were stronger, wiser, more faithful, this wouldn't be happening. Silence that voice, Lord, because it is not yours. Your voice does not condemn. It comes to seek and to save what was lost, to bind up the brokenhearted, to set the captives free, and I have been captive to shame long enough. Heal the fear that sits underneath so much of what I do, fear of failure, fear of being a disappointment, fear of losing what I love, fear of the future, fear that if I let my guard down even for a moment, everything will collapse entirely. Isaiah tells me not to fear, because you are with me, not to be dismayed, because you are my God, that you will strengthen me and help me and hold me up with your righteous right hand. I need that promise today the way I need air. Heal the bitterness, God, if it has crept in, toward people who hurt me, toward circumstances that felt unfair, even, if I'm honest, toward you sometimes in moments when I didn't understand why you allowed certain things to happen. I don't want to carry bitterness. It's heavy, and it doesn't actually protect me from anything. It only poisons the one who carries it. So take it, Lord. I release my grip on it, even the part of me that feels justified in holding on. Heal the exhaustion, the kind that sleep doesn't touch, the kind that comes from holding a brave face for too long, from being the strong one for everyone else, from pretending things are fine because no one seemed to have room to hear that they weren't. Jesus, you said, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." I am coming. I am tired in a way that words don't fully capture, and I am asking for the kind of rest that isn't just sleep, but the deep rest of a soul that finally sets its burden down. Heal the rejection, Lord, if that's part of what I'm carrying, the sting of being left, overlooked, or replaced by someone I trusted. Rejection has a way of burrowing deep, convincing me that something is fundamentally wrong with me, rather than simply acknowledging that a relationship ended or a situation changed. You were rejected too, Lord Jesus, despised and rejected by those you came to save, familiar with grief in a way few others have ever been. You understand this particular wound from the inside. Meet me there. Heal the comparison that creeps in when I look at other people's lives and wonder why theirs looks whole while mine looks like it's unraveling. I know intellectually that everyone carries something I cannot see. But knowing it and feeling it are different things, and today I ask you to close the gap between them. Let me stop measuring my unraveling season against someone else's highlight reel. Heal the sense of powerlessness that comes from watching things fall apart that I have no ability to fix. A loved one's choices, a diagnosis, a situation entirely outside my control. There is a strange grief in powerlessness, God, a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from wanting so badly to fix something and simply not having the power to do it. Teach me the difference between what is mine to carry and what was only ever yours to carry, and give me the grace to set down what was never mine in the first place. Restore my sense of identity, God, because when everything falls apart, It's easy to start believing the falling apart is who I am. It isn't. I am not my failures. I am not my worst season. I am not the diagnosis, the divorce, the debt, the disappointment. I am your child, made in your image, loved before I did a single thing to earn it, and that identity does not crumble just because my circumstances did. There is a kind of faith, Lord, that I want to grow in, the kind that doesn't require every answer before it trusts. Hebrews tells me that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. I don't fully understand how that works, but I want to live inside that truth today. Because right now, there is so much I cannot see. I cannot see how this situation resolves. I cannot see whether the relationship heals or whether it doesn't, whether the job comes or whether I have to keep waiting, whether the health improves or whether I have to learn a new normal. I cannot see the end of this chapter, and that not knowing is one of the hardest parts of all of this. But faith isn't the absence of not knowing. Faith is trusting the one who does know, even while I don't. For the person who has been praying about the same thing for years and still doesn't have the answer, Lord, meet them in the waiting. Waiting is one of the hardest disciplines there is, harder in some ways than the actual suffering, because waiting stretches on with no clear end date. Give that person endurance today. Give them the strength to keep believing without becoming bitter, to keep hoping without becoming naive, to hold both truth and trust in the same hand. For the person who feels like nothing is changing no matter how hard they pray, how much they believe, how many times they've surrendered the same burden, God, remind them that your silence is not your absence. Sometimes the most important work you do is invisible, happening underground, in roots we cannot see, long before there's any fruit above the surface. I don't know what you're doing beneath the surface of my own life right now either, but I choose to trust that you are doing something. For the person whose prayer feels like it's bouncing off the ceiling, who wonders if you're even listening anymore, Lord, you are listening. You have never once stopped listening. Even when it feels like silence, your word says you collect our tears in a bottle, that you are near to us even when we cannot feel it. Let that truth settle over that person now, wherever they are. For the person fighting a battle no one else knows about, the quiet one, the hidden one, the struggle they've never said out loud to another living person, Lord, you know. You see what happens behind closed doors, in private thoughts, in moments no one else witnesses. They are not carrying it alone even when it feels that way, because you've been there for every single moment of it. Give them the courage when the time is right to let someone trustworthy in, and give them your comfort in the meantime. For the person who built their life around a plan that is no longer possible, the family they pictured, the career path they trained for, the future they had already started decorating in their mind, God, grief for a future that will never happen is real grief, even though there's no funeral for it, even though other people might not understand why it hurts so much. Let that person feel permission to mourn what was lost, even as you begin to show them what might still be possible. For the person who keeps asking why and hasn't received an answer, Lord, some questions may not be answered this side of eternity, and I don't say that to be dismissive of the pain behind the question. I say it because I believe you are big enough to hold my unanswered questions without needing me to resolve them before I can trust you again. Give that person the strength to keep walking forward. Why still unanswered, hand still held. Now, Lord, I want to bring you this specific thing, this exact feeling of everything falling apart, because it's not abstract to me. It's real, and it's heavy, and some days it feels like too much. What does it mean, God, when everything feels like it's falling apart? I think, if I'm honest, it means I had a version of stability I was holding on to, and that version is gone now. It means the ground I thought was solid moved. It means the plans I built my sense of safety on didn't hold the weight I put on them, and in the space where that stability used to be, there's just uncertainty, open air, a kind of vertigo. And here's what I'm afraid of in that vertigo, Lord. I'm afraid that if everything keeps falling apart, there won't be anything left to catch me. I'm afraid that this is the beginning of a free fall that doesn't stop. I'm afraid that I'll run out of strength before this season runs out of demands on me. I'm afraid that I'll disappoint the people who are counting on me to hold it together. I'm afraid, honestly, that maybe I'm not as strong as I thought I was, and that this exact moment is proof of it. But here's what I want to believe, even through the fear, that falling apart is not the same as being destroyed. Things can break and still be redeemed. Things can crumble and still become the foundation for something you are building that I cannot yet see the shape of. Isaiah 43 says that when I pass through the waters, you will be with me, and the rivers will not sweep over me. That when I walk through the fire, I will not be burned. Not if I go through hard things, when. You never promised a life without the falling apart. You promised your presence inside of it. So Lord, I don't ask you today to simply make everything go back to the way it was. I'm not sure I even want that anymore, honestly, because maybe some of what's falling apart did to fall. Maybe some of the structures I built my life on weren't built on you in the first place. Maybe this collapse, painful as it is actually an invitation to rebuild on something that can't be shaken. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. Your word says, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. I want what remains, God. I want to be standing on what remains when the dust settles. Teach me what needs to be released so that what you're building can take its place. Teach me to hold my plans loosely and hold you tightly. Teach me that my worth was never in the structure that fell, it was always in you, and you do not fall. Show me what it actually looks like to trust you in the middle of the falling, not just after it stops. I think I've always imagined trust as something I'll fully arrive at once the crisis passes, once the diagnosis is resolved, once the relationship is repaired, once the money is stable again. But you are inviting me into trust now, in the middle of the mess, before the resolution, while the dust is still settling around me. It's a harder trust, Lord, but I believe it's also a deeper one. What do I need to believe today that I didn't believe yesterday? I think I need to believe that falling apart is not the same as being forgotten. I think I need to believe that you can be building something even in a season that looks, from where I stand, like nothing but demolition. I think I need to believe that my life is not a house of cards that collapses the moment one piece shifts. Because my life is not built on the pieces. It is built, or it is being rebuilt on you, the cornerstone that cannot be moved, no matter how many other things around it shake loose. And what do I need to let go of? Control, mostly. The illusion that I ever had it in the first place. I built so much of my peace on the belief that if I just planned carefully enough, worked hard enough, loved well enough, I could keep my life from ever coming apart at the seams. But that was never true, was it? Control was always an illusion. You were always the one actually holding things together, even in the seasons when I mistakenly believed it was me. So today I release the illusion, not because I'm strong enough to release it easily, but because I'd rather live in the truth of your sovereignty than the exhausting fiction of my own control. For the person listening who feels like they are starting completely over, new job, new city, new chapter after a divorce, new life after a loss, Lord, go before them. Let this not just be an ending, but also a doorway. You are the God who makes streams in the wasteland, who does new things, who tells me in Jeremiah that you know the plans you have for me, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give me a future and a hope. I hold on to that verse today, not as a magic formula that guarantees ease, but as a promise that you have not abandoned the plan just because the road looks different than I expected. For the person whose whole identity got wrapped up in something that just ended, a career, a relationship, a role they played for years, Lord, help them discover who they are underneath all of that. Help them discover that they were never only the job title, the marriage, the role. They are a soul that you know intimately, one you called by name before they ever accomplished anything at all. For the person who feels like they failed at parenting, at marriage, at faith, at simply holding their life together, Father, remind them that failure is not final with you. Peter failed you in the worst possible way, denying you 3 times, and you restored him not with shame, but with 3 questions about love, and then you built your church on him. If you can do that with Peter, you can do something with the pieces of my life too. I want to speak some things out now, Lord, not because saying them makes them magically true, but because declaring truth over my own heart helps me remember what's real when my feelings are telling me something else. I choose to trust, even when I cannot see the way forward. I choose to believe that you are still working, even in the seasons where the evidence is invisible. I refuse to let fear have the final word over my life, my future, or my family. My future is not outside of your hands. No matter how uncertain it looks from where I'm standing, you are with me in the waiting, and you will be with me in whatever comes after the waiting ends. I will not let yesterday's pain, the ending to tomorrow's story. I am not what fell apart. I am who you say I am, and that has not changed. I believe that you work all things together for good for those who love you, who are called according to your purpose. Not that all things are good, because some of what has happened to me is not good at all, but that you are able to weave even the worst of it into something redemptive, in your timing, in your way. I believe that neither death nor life, nor angels nor rulers, nor things present nor things to come, nor powers, nor height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate me from your love. Not this season, not this collapse, not this uncertainty, nothing. I believe that when I am weak, that is exactly where your strength shows up most clearly. I don't have to pretend to be strong for you. I can bring you my weakness, my exhaustion, I don't know how I'm going to keep doing this, and your grace will still be sufficient. That word, sufficient, is doing a lot of work for me today. Not overflowing, not necessarily comfortable, but sufficient. Enough for today. That's what I'm asking for. Enough for today. I declare that this collapse is not my conclusion. I declare that what feels like an ending in my life may, in your hands, simply be a beginning wearing a disguise I don't yet recognize. I declare that I will not build my identity on what has broken, but on the one who does not break. I declare that fear may knock on the door of my heart today, and it may even get loud, but it does not get to move in and live there. I declare that fatigue is real, but it is not permanent, and that you renew the strength of those who wait on you, so that they rise up with wings like eagles, they run and do not grow weary, they walk and do not faint. I declare that fear may be a visitor in my life this season, but it will not be a resident. I declare that you, Lord, are near, nearer than my next heartbeat, nearer than the fear itself. For the person who has spent this season caring for someone else, a sick parent, a struggling spouse, a child who needs more than they have left to give, Lord, pour into the one who has been pouring out. Caregiving is holy work, but it is also exhausting work, and the caregiver's own heart matters to you just as much as the person they're caring for. Renew them. Remind them that needing help themselves is not weakness. For the business owner or the provider watching numbers they cannot control, wondering how to keep everything afloat, God, you are Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, and I ask that you would provide wisdom, provide open doors, and provide peace even in the uncertainty of the ledger. For the person walking through the ending of a marriage, grieving a covenant that didn't hold the way they hoped it would, Lord, be gentle with them. Divorce carries a particular kind of grief, layered with loss and sometimes shame, and sometimes tangled together in confusing ways. Meet them in all of it without judgment. For the person facing a health struggle that has changed what their body can do, what their future looks like, what an ordinary day requires of them now, Father, Be their strength in the places their body cannot go anymore. Give them new definitions of a good day. Give them courage for the appointments, the treatments, the waiting rooms. For the young person who feels like their whole future is uncertain, school, career, faith, identity, all of it still forming, Lord, you are not worried about their timeline the way they are. Give them peace in the not yet knowing and confidence that you go before them into every version of adulthood they haven't stepped into yet. For the person starting over in a new place, far from the people and rhythms that used to make them feel safe, God, be their home when nothing around them feels familiar yet. Send them people, send them roots. Let me pause here for a moment. And if you're listening to this and you have a name that's pressing on your heart right now, person you love who is going through their own version of falling apart, bring them before God now. Whisper their name. He knows exactly what they need even better than you do, and he is not too busy to hear one more name. And if there's a piece of your own life you haven't fully handed over yet, the fear you keep circling back to, the plan you're still gripping tightly, the thing you keep trying to fix on your own strength, take a moment now. Picture placing that in God's hands. Not because it will instantly feel resolved, but because that's where it belongs. Lord, I want to trust you now with tomorrow. I don't know what it holds. I don't know if the news I'm waiting for will be the news I hope for. I don't know if the relationship will heal in the way I want it to. I don't know if the job will come through, if the health will improve, if the finances will stabilize, if the ache in my chest will ease. I don't know. But I know who holds tomorrow, even when I cannot hold it myself. Give me wisdom for the decisions ahead. Lord, James says that if I lack wisdom, I can ask you, and you give generously without finding fault. So I'm asking, give me discernment to know what's yours, and what's simply my own anxiety dressed up as urgency. Give me patience for the process, because I know transformation rarely happens on the timeline I would choose. Give me courage for the parts that scare me, the conversations I need to have, the changes I need to make, the surrender I keep almost giving and then taking back. Give me peace that doesn't depend on my circumstances resolving first, the kind of peace Jesus talked about, not as the world gives, but a peace that can exist right alongside unresolved problems because it's rooted in something more stable than my situation. Provide for me, Father, according to your will and your wisdom, not according to my sometimes limited understanding of what I think I need. Matthew tells me not to worry about tomorrow, that tomorrow will worry about itself, that today has enough trouble of its own, and I confess I've broken that instruction 1,000 times over, worrying about futures that haven't even arrived yet, borrowing tomorrow's fear to pay today's bill. Help me stop doing that. Help me live inside today, this one day, trusting you with the rest. Help me recognize your guidance when it comes, even if it doesn't look the way I expect. Sometimes I think I want a burning bush, clear voice, unmistakable sign, but more often you guide through a quiet peace, a closed door, an open door, a friend's timely words, a verse that suddenly feels alive. Give me eyes to notice those things, instead of demanding a spectacle before I'll trust that you're leading. Now, Lord, I want to come back to surrender one more time, because I think this is the heartbeat of this whole prayer. I release what I cannot control. I release the outcome of the situation that's been consuming my thoughts. I release my need to know the ending before I'm willing to trust the middle. I release the people I love into your care, trusting that you love them more than I do, and that your capacity to work in their lives far exceeds mine. I release my grip on the plans that didn't work out. I release the comparison that creeps in when I look at other people's lives and wonder why mine looks the way it does right now. I release the pressure to have it all figured out by the time I talk to someone else about it. I release the fear that says I'm behind, that I'm failing, that I'm running out of time. I lay it all down, Lord, not because I'm strong enough to let go on my own, but because you are strong enough to hold what I release. Take it, please, just take it. And in the quiet that's left after I've set all of that down, let me feel you. Not necessarily in a dramatic way. I'm not asking for goosebumps or a lightning bolt of certainty. I'm asking for the kind of presence that feels like sitting next to someone you trust completely, where you don't have to talk, where the silence itself is comforting because of who's sitting beside you. Be that for me right now, God. Be the presence in the silence. Be the hand on my shoulder that I cannot physically feel, but that I choose to believe is there anyway, because your word tells me you are close to the brokenhearted, and you will never leave me nor forsake me. I think about Psalm 23 often in seasons like this, how it doesn't promise a life without valleys. It promises a shepherd who walks through the valley with me. I am walking through a valley right now, Lord. Some days it feels more like the valley of the shadow of death than I'd like to admit. But you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me, not because they remove the valley, but because they mean I'm not walking through it by myself. Lead me beside still waters, even when the rest of my life feels like rushing rapids. Restore my soul, piece by piece, the parts of it that feel worn thin. Prepare a table for me even in the presence of everything that feels like an enemy right now. The fear, the uncertainty, the grief, the exhaustion. Let goodness and mercy follow me, even here, even in this, especially in this. I think about Psalm 46 too, how it says God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, not a distant help, not a help that arrives eventually after enough waiting, a present help. Help that is here now, in this trouble, in this exact moment of falling apart. Be still and know that I am God, it says. I want to be still, Lord. My mind doesn't want to be still. It wants to keep spinning through scenarios and worst cases and what ifs. But I am choosing, right now, to be still anyway. Not because the stillness feels natural, but because I trust that you are God even when my feelings haven't caught up to that truth yet. For the person listening who feels utterly alone tonight, maybe there's no one beside them, no one who fully understands what they're carrying, no one to call at this hour. Lord, be closer to them than anyone else could be. Let them feel, even faintly, that they are not actually alone, that you are there in the room with them, in the car with them, wherever they are. For the person who has been strong for everyone else for so long that they don't remember what it feels like to be taken care of, Father, take care of them now. Let someone show up for them this week in a way that surprises them. Let them receive love, not just give it. For the person who is angry at you right now, who doesn't understand why you allowed what happened to happen, God, you can handle that anger. You are not fragile. Job was honest with you in his pain, and you didn't punish him for it, you met him. So if there's anger here, bring it to God honestly. He would rather have your honesty than your performance. For the person who feels spiritually dry, who used to feel close to God and now just feels distant, going through the motions of faith without feeling much of anything, Lord, you have not moved. If there's distance, draw near, the way your word promises that when we draw near to you, you draw near to us. Meet that person in their dryness. Don't ask them to manufacture a feeling. Just be present, even in the numbness. For the person who is beginning again after everything fell apart, starting a new job, a new relationship with cautious hope, a new season of sobriety, a new way of living after loss, Lord, bless the beginning. Give them courage for the first steps, and grace for the days when the old fear tries to come back. I want to slow down now, Lord, and just be honest for a moment, without trying to sound spiritual or put together. I'm tired. I'm tired of holding my breath waiting to see what happens next. I'm tired of the noise in my own head. I'm tired of pretending, in front of some people, that everything is fine, when the truth is I don't know if it is. I'm tired of praying about the same thing and wondering if it's even landing anywhere. I'm tired of being the one who has to hold it together, the one everyone else leans on, when some days I don't have anything left to offer. not even to myself. I don't say any of this to complain, Lord, though I suppose part of it is exactly that, and I trust you can handle my complaint the way you handled the honest cries of the psalmists, who brought you their raw, unfiltered anguish and were never once turned away for it. David asked how long you would forget him, how long you would hide your face. Job asked why he was ever born into such suffering. Even Jesus in the garden asked if there was another way, if the cup could pass. If the most faithful people in Scripture were honest with you in their pain, then I can be honest too. I don't have to perform peace I don't yet feel in order to be welcome in your presence. And yet, I'm still here. I'm still praying. That has to mean something. It means that somewhere under the exhaustion there is still a flicker of hope that you are real, that you care, that this isn't all for nothing. I want to fan that flicker into something bigger, God. Not through effort, but through your Spirit, breathing life back into places that feel dry. Whatever name comes to your mind right now, whoever you've been carrying silently in your heart through this prayer, bring them before the Lord one more time. He already knows their situation in full. He doesn't need the details explained. He just wants you to bring them, the way you'd bring a friend into a room and say, "This is someone I love. Please take care of them." And take a deep breath now, wherever you are. In through the nose, slow and out. You are not alone in whatever you are facing. Whatever fell apart this year, this month, this week, this hour, it has not fallen outside of God's reach. Nothing has. Lord, as this prayer moves toward its close, I don't want it to just end. I want it to settle into something. I want to leave this moment different than I entered it, even if my circumstances haven't changed at all yet. Let peace settle over the anxious places. Not the fragile peace that depends on everything worked the way I hope, but the deep peace Philippians describes, the peace that surpasses understanding, the kind that doesn't make logical sense given my circumstances but guards my heart and mind anyway, like a soldier standing watch over a city gate. Let gratitude rise up in me even here, even now, not because everything is fine, but because you are still good, still faithful, still present, even in a season that doesn't feel fine at all. Let hope take root again, not a shallow hope that everything will simply go back to normal, but a deeper hope that you are making something new, something I can't yet see, out of the very pieces that fell apart. Revelation tells me that one day you will wipe away every tear, that there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, that the old order of things will pass away. I don't live there yet. I still live in a world where things fall apart. But I hold on to the promise that this brokenness is not the final chapter, not for the world and not for my life either. Let trust settle in, deep and quiet, the kind that doesn't need to see the whole staircase before taking the next step, to borrow words a wise man once used. I don't need to see how this entire situation resolves. I just need to trust the one who does. Let rest come, Lord, real rest, the kind that reaches past the body into the soul, into the anxious mind that doesn't know how to stop working even when it's exhausted. Let me lie down tonight and actually sleep, actually release the weight I've been carrying, because you are the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps, watching over me even while I finally do. Let renewed faith rise where doubt has been living, not faith that pretends the hard things aren't hard, but faith that says, even here, even now, God is still God, and that is enough to keep going. Let confidence return, not confidence in my own ability to hold everything together, because clearly I can't. That's how I ended up here in the first place, trying to hold together what was never mine to hold alone, but confidence in you, confidence that you are able. Confidence that you are willing, confidence that you have not forgotten me, not for one single moment of this entire ordeal. Let courage rise for whatever the next step is, even if it's small, a phone call I've been avoiding, a conversation I need to have, a boundary I need to set, a decision I've been putting off out of fear. I don't need courage for the whole road today, just for the next right step, and I trust you to give me that, one step at a time. Let joy return too, Lord, even here, not the shallow kind that depends on circumstances lining up, but the deep kind Nehemiah spoke of, the joy of the Lord that becomes my strength. Let me laugh again soon, genuinely, without the weight of everything pressing down in that moment. Let me find, even in this hard season, small pockets of delight, an answered small prayer, a good meal, a kind word, a moment of unexpected beauty, and let me receive them without guilt, as gifts from a father who wants good things for his children even in difficult seasons. And let expectation rise for what's ahead, not a naive expectation that pretends difficulty is over, but a hopeful expectation that you are not finished writing this story. You are the God who makes streams in wastelands and beauty from ashes and resurrection out of what looked like an ending. If you can do that with a grave, you can do that with whatever has fallen apart in my life. So here is where I land, Lord, at least for today. God is with me, even in this, even now. I am not alone, even when it feels that way, even in the middle of the night, even in the waiting room, even in the empty house, even in the silence after the hard conversation. I am not alone. I can keep going, not because I've suddenly found some reserve of strength I didn't have before, but because your strength is made perfect in my weakness, and your mercies are new every single morning, which means tomorrow I get a fresh supply I don't have to manufacture on my own. There is still hope, even here, even now, especially here, especially now. I can trust you, God, not because I understand everything that's happening, but because I know who you are. You are the shepherd who leads me beside still waters even in the valley. You are the refuge and strength that doesn't wait for my trouble to end before showing up. You are the Father who knows what I need before I ask. You are the one who began a good work in me and promised to carry it to completion, and you are not finished with me yet. So whatever fell apart, whatever is still falling apart even now, I place it in your hands. Not because I've stopped caring about it, but because I finally believe, a little more today than yesterday, that your hands are safer than mine. Thank you for meeting me here. Thank you for staying close through every word of this prayer, and for staying close long after it ends. Thank you for being the God who doesn't just watch things fall apart from a distance, but who steps into the wreckage with me, who sits with me in it, who is already, even now, quietly beginning to build something new out of what's left. I love you, Lord. I trust you even in the not knowing, and I rest tonight in the truth that you are holding what I could never hold on my own. Amen.